Hey guys, it's me, 𝗲𝗷𝗆 Rainbow.
And I am Renata from the 𝗍𝗍.
And welcome back to episode 30 of the 𝗫𝗍𝘆 podcast. In this episode, we have some fun stuff to go over for you guys. So first and foremost, we've got a recap of the Barcelona and London pre-parties for you guys, as well as our reaction and comments, opinions on the new statement that was just put out by Eurovision / the EBU. So there's a lot of fun, exciting things to go over in this episode. So make sure you guys stick around for all of that. But first, we want to give a little bit of a shout out to our patrons. These are people who went over to patreon.com/𝗫𝗍𝘆 podcast and subscribed to get the full length video episodes early, a day early, ad-free, all of that. And also there is some exciting Patreon exclusive stuff over there for you guys. So those come out every once in a while whenever we have something to put out there for you guys. But there is something new this time. We do have our reactions to the Barcelona pre-party over there. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of that. And you also get a shout out at the beginning of the episode like the following people. So shout out to Daniel, Obili, Alistair, Russell, Shoegazer, Daniel, Kathleen, Suniva, Norbert, Jackson, Henny, Andrew, Elliot, Sana, and Liza. So shout out to you guys for subscribing to our Patreon, supporting us, and shout out to everybody who has been listening to us on, Patreon, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Shout out to everybody who's been supporting us in this amazing podcast journey. And without further ado, let's get right into the episode. Alrighty, so firstly, I want to say before we get into this episode, Renata, that we did just have the eclipse this week, and me personally, I went up to Cleveland because my boyfriend lives in Cleveland, so like I go up there every once in a while to see him, and it was in the 100% viewing thingy, so I was like, oh, okay, a good excuse to go up there. And I think that I have to acknowledge something, that I've been saying in a lot of the episodes in the last few weeks, which I think has hurt, the feelings of a certain, demographic, a certain group of people. And, I think I can sometimes be really judgmental, you know what I mean, towards people who sometimes don't have control over things, and like their appearance and stuff. And I can judge people, for how they look. But I saw my boyfriend's dad, and he is one of those people that I've probably been hating on a lot in these episodes, and that is bald people. And so I just want to
I
say,
knew that was taking us somewhere. I was waiting for the penny to drop. You're crazy. Anyway, go on.
So I just want to say, for that, I really, I apologize to the bald people out there. I recognize that I've been, a little harsh against your kind. And so, in solidarity with you all, I have something to reveal to you, Renata.
Oh my God. Oh my God. A real wig snatch in front of my eyes.
So I just want to say, I stand with the bald. The tides have changed, and shout out to all the baldies out there. Shout out.
I am absolutely dying right now. Unfortunately, for everyone who is only listening on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, 𝗥𝗍𝘆 has just pulled off a very stunning, like wavy beach blonde wig to reveal a bald head underneath the wig, and is rocking the whole Dawn's Hollow 𝗍𝗏𝘆 look for the show today. My goodness, this is personal growth. That's what it is. It's personal
Exactly.
growth. No longer a
Exactly.
baldy hater. We should get
Exactly.
Polyus on the show.
Yes. One day we will all come together, all the balds, me included now.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
I also just want to say that we did just sit through that entire we just recorded the whole Patreon exclusive. I've sat there. I I hope I did good at hiding this until this point. I hope you just did not
I
expect
had
that.
no idea. I had no idea. I was loving the wig the whole time too.
Yes, this was the real look. I'm giving A
Amazing.
America's Next Top Model when they put bald caps on everybody, and this is a bald cap. I did, you know. So shout out, shout
You
out.
did a really good job with the bald cap though, honestly,
Thank
because like
you.
with the way that the lighting is too, like it actually looks really natural.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I've never done a bald cap, so. And I also want to say that I did do this look because there is some like because we're about to talk about the pre-parties, and there's somebody, Dawn's obviously, who has really been growing on me from these pre-parties, and I think that that's really, you know, the beauty of the pre-parties is we really start to get to see the artists, we get to see their personalities, we get to see the way they interact with everybody else. And that's really at the end of the day the best part for me as a fan watching is of the pre-parties is getting to see those interactions and everybody becoming friends and you know all of that. So uh you know, so I really wanted to, you know, that's the whole reason I did this, because to showcase my change of views on this man. Not that I ever disliked him, but
Yeah, you were just
but I'm
being a
kind
little
of
bit
becoming a stan.
prejudiced. I
Well,
okay, the song is doing nothing for me, but I love him. I love his
mm,
social media. He is so funny and just like sweet and wholesome and like
yeah.
self-aware too. Like he keeps making jokes about like being an egghead and stuff. Like
Yes,
he's
yeah.
very like he seems like a down-to-earth person.
Yeah, he's literally, if you don't follow him on social media, he's literally winning the social media game because
Yeah.
he is so funny. The stuff he's doing with the other contestants. First of all, him and 𝗃𝗏𝗄𝗅, oh my God, they are such power duo, okay? Because they're so funny together. Everybody just seems, I don't know. It's really good vibes in general right
Yeah.
now. Good vibes, in some sort. But yeah, so first up was the Barcelona pre-party. There were multiple nights for this, but I believe it was really just the one night that matters. And we did watch the recap over on Patreon, so if you would like to go over and see that, of course, subscribe and you can watch that.
So with this Barcelona pre-party, there was a pretty good number of people. The show ran for like 2.5 hours, and there were a lot of songs by some older people and some current people as well. But the thing that stood out to me immediately when I was watching the videos was that the venue was like enormous. Like I don't know what that venue was. I don't know if that's the same venue that they had last year, but it looked like there was maybe two levels of it, and it just like went on and on in the back. There were so many people there, and the barricade was really far back from the stage into the audience,
Mm.
and I felt like something seemed really off for me about the whole vibe there. And maybe it was different on the ground at the party, but it looked very full but not very happening.
You know what it looked kind of like? It kind of gives the vibes of like a festival, you know, where there's like this
Yes.
massive crowd of people, but there's like a pretty good distance from the stage. Like that's what it kind of looks like to me. I mean, I know that's not what it is. I know it's indoors, but
Yeah, but it was just kind of like a lot of people, but it didn't look like a lot of people vibing.
mm,
And it was certainly more obvious on some songs than others. Uh,
yeah.
I also felt like the video quality was fine, but the sound didn't sound great. But it seemed like one of those situations where like it sounds like shit on like camera, but probably sounded perfectly fine. Because there's a big difference between the sound that you hear naturally occurring within a building and the sound that like you get recorded. Like I'm sure we have all gone to concerts and it sounded amazing and like took a
Yeah.
video and then we get home and listen to it and it's like unlistenable essentially.
Yeah, I always take the perspective. I always feel as though things always sound better when they're actually live as opposed because you're not actually hearing like that voice in your ear like they are singing into your ear. Like any sort of little flubs or maybe being slightly out of tune, like usually it just gets masked by, people singing all around you and all of those things. Because there have been so many times where I've gone to these Eurovision things and I get back home. I will literally be like, "Oh my God, they sounded amazing. Everything was perfect." I get back home, everybody online saying they were horrible. I'm like, where? I did not get that experience. Like the amount of times that happens. So, and I feel like, that's one of the things about these being, I suppose maybe they're not televised, but like recorded and getting like the actual audio streams as opposed to just like, videos from the audience or whatever. Um, is that we do have to remember, like, this is a live show, this is like a little concert, and, to give more grace when it comes to those types of things. Because also smaller venues than Eurovision, maybe not as much precision when it comes to setups and stuff, like
Hmm.
there's not a million rehearsals and sound checks and all these things, so, there's gonna be problems. And yeah.
And I think it's good that they get to perform a little bit without like the super high stress environment of like Eurovision and like that's your 3 minutes. Like they're still getting the same amount of time more or less on the pre-party stages, but the stress level is just not there. Like they're,
Yeah.
getting off stage and then they're going and having drinks with their new friends.
Mhm.
And I think that's actually like really good for them. And it's one of those things that's rough because it's like we as fans, especially fans who have like really hard to access pre-parties, like it's
Mhm.
really expensive to fly to Europe. We do rely so much on like the videos of the concerts, but that is what they are. It's like their concert videos, and even the pretty decent ones that have been coming out like on YouTube following the event, which are way better than the live streams. Like the live streams
Mhm.
were definitely really exciting, but like the sound quality is always worse. It's always lagging or whatever. um like it's better that they're doing like the fully recorded ones, but it's still just like it's like 85% of the experience, and like it sucks that
Yeah.
we can't be at the concerts or on our own.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say the one thing, so there's like this weird thing where like with the pre-parties, I feel like those are way more like fan events. The audience is way more like the Euro fans. Those are the people that are going to the pre-parties most of the time. Whereas actual Eurovision, the audience is usually like locals. And when we say locals, it doesn't have to even mean locals as in locals of the place that it's in, although there is a lot of that, but it's also just the term of locals as in like just regular viewers, right? And so those are people that maybe haven't heard all the songs. They maybe don't care about everybody. They're, if they are actual locals, maybe they just are there because they got the tickets for free from their job or something. So they really don't care. But the energy of the actual pre-parties and even kind of that content from the pre-parties, that's stuff that's for the fans, the Euro fans to watch and consume. So it also has, I think that I try to be as impartial when I'm commenting on them because, like, it's like, oh, understanding that there are problems that could come through. But at the same time, I do also recognize the importance of caring about the pre-parties and I do feel like there is a certain level of importance to doing well, performing well at the pre-parties, because if it can make you start to really fall in love and get your eye on somebody that you didn't notice. It could also make you start to really hate some entries
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
so and it is a test and it is a good indicator of how someone might be able to perform at Eurovision, especially to those people that we have not seen perform their songs live. And these are the first times we're going to see that. Um, so,
Yeah, so there was a few that um definitely like just solidified that I love them, that I got from this. Like where it's like the more times you see someone perform something like you said, like the more you love them.
mhm.
Um Sylvester Bell absolutely amazing. I am totally obsessed. Like, how do I become Lithuanian? Although, actually, fun fact though, my family came from what is now Lithuania. So
Oh.
they came from Vilnius. And that's,
Mm,
I guess, where they lived for a really long time. And at that time, it was literally like the Russian Empire. So, like, there were lots of Polish people in what is now
mm,
Lithuania. And because there was no border anymore.
mhm.
Also, Poland and Lithuania were in a union for a long time, which is actually a very complicated piece of history. But that union agreement was signed in the city that I lived in Poland, in Lublin.
Oh.
Anyway, history lesson. Um, but I'm totally obsessed with this song and with him and his performance. Um, and also Estonia as well. Like I
Mhm.
can't watch Estonia or Lithuania perform enough. I want to go
Yes.
especially to a 𝗣cie concert. Like I really
I
would love that.
know.
Oh my God.
The energy that they bring from, like, the audience, from everything, and just the
And
energy that they
last year
bring.
in Barcelona, because the crowd was not moving for them. It
Yeah.
was pathetic.
Yeah, I gotta say, what you need to experience, something that I at least luckily was able to experience, is the energy of an Estonian crowd when they're performing. The level of insane, like these guys, I'm trying to let me remind you, these are some of the biggest artists in Estonia. Like, they have a huge, massive fan base, and you see why. Like, they are such amazing performers. They bring that energy through their performance. I love that they even got the old guys up there dancing and kicking, and like, it's amazing to see. I'm literally like, I'm telling y'all, you know, as a Estonia stan, guys, get on board. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely it's giving me 𝗃𝗏𝗄𝗏 more and more and what I envision
Mhm.
happening it where like yeah, maybe a lot of the fans aren't really crazy about it, but regular viewers are gonna immediately connect to it.
Yes. Yes. I'm hoping so. There's a lot of people that I feel like are very strong, solid vocalists, and we're seeing like a lot of these people are performing at every single pre-party, and like you said, Sylvester Belt, um and then there's also Angelina Mango, Raven. um these are people that are just amazing vocalists, they're amazing performers, and every time they perform they just continue to show us that even in, maybe not, okay, maybe it's not the worst setting, but even in an imperfect setting, they are still able to perform amazingly. And that just goes to show how amazing they're going to be at Eurovision. And I think that's also the importance of national selections, because there's also a lot of people who were internally selected that maybe are starting to show that, ooh, ooh,
Yeah, two
you
come to mind
know.
for me are Poland and Belgium right away.
Mhm.
Um, but what you just described with people who have like flawless vocals every time, we did see that twice last year with
Mm.
𝗥𝗏𝘆 and 𝗪𝗏. And what
Mm,
happened with
mhm.
both of them is they came top 10.
Yeah.
And like the consistency, I think, like it's really means so much. Because even if this, because we know this, even if the song is maybe a little bit shit sometimes, I'm not saying any of these people's songs are, but if you're able to really competently pull off the song, that is
Mhm.
going to help you. Like if you can sound good every single time where nobody ever thinks you sound off, that's a strength.
Yeah, and it's also one less thing that they need to be really worrying about in the preparation for the contest, whereas some of these people are having to worry about, I mean, to be honest, the bare minimum basics for Eurovision as a performer when you're creating your song, whatever, is, can you sing it? Because this is a
Mhm.
live music event. And some of these people, yeah, that they don't have to worry about that. So then they can put their energy into staging, into dancing, into performing, and all of those things. Whereas some of these people, you know, are still having to worry about those bare minimum basics. So for example, you know, Belgium is struggling for me. And
Mhm.
here's my thing. in comparison to the people who are like amazing performers that are like flawless every single time. I've seen, some fans say that he said that, oh, he's just focusing on having fun at the pre-parties. But here's my thing, okay? When I watch Angelina Mango perform, when I watch Sylvester Belt perform, when I watch Nemo perform, when I'm watching these people perform, they're all having fun. They're all ad-libbing, they're riffing, they're dancing around the
Hmm.
stage, they're interacting with the crowd. Here's the thing. They can do that because they don't have to worry because they're great vocalists. They know they got it. We know that they have it. And so they can just have fun. My concern is, okay, just because you're having fun doesn't mean like I haven't been able to hear you sing your song well one time. So if, and like I get it, you want to have fun, but maybe that's the case, or maybe that's an excuse, like, and it's fine. It's fine. Whatever you want to do. I mean, honestly, none of this stuff actually ends up mattering. It
Yeah.
all comes down to how you do at the stage, but it might serve you well to at least have done one of your performances a little like if that's the case,
Hmm.
and that's really what's going on, it might serve you well to do one where you're just taking it seriously and you're not, but I don't really think that not hitting your notes is a result of you having fun on stage.
Well, right. Like, well, so the other side of that coin would be maybe like 𝗥𝗶𝗄𝘅, for example, where like most of the time she doesn't sound that great when she's performing
Mhm.
live, but she does look like she's enjoying herself
Yes.
a
Yeah.
lot. But it's also a little bit of a different style of music, and it's a song that I like. So there's also always that too, where it's like if it's a song that you don't like, it's like, well, you're not giving me anything else to make me like you, whereas you're more likely to forgive poor vocal performance on a song that you do like.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I love Pedestal, but I don't love it as much as you do. And I'm disappointed in Miss Girl too, because this is one of the songs that was selected a long time ago, and we revamped it. And we changed enough in the revamp to where we could have made this easier for her to hit the notes. We
Yeah.
didn't need to add one of those big, long, big vocal notes at the end when she was already struggling to sing the normal version, you know?
Yeah.
So, that's like, but I agree. Like, she is having fun and like running around the stage, and also, with her, it feels like a big issue just is like breathing and and she just, the only way you could get better at doing that and dancing and having that energy on stage and singing is by practice. So that is the benefit of the pre-party. And I will say, I think she is getting better every time I see her live. I still haven't gotten to one that I think is great, but
Hmm.
I think everyone is better. So that's saying something. Whereas with Belgium, I haven't seen that yet. Um, and then we come to Luna from Poland, and I think that the issue here is we both love the song, but I think that the issue here is that this song does not love Luna, and we
Hmm.
saw it. We didn't notice this in Madrid because she only performed her Eurovision song, The Tower. But in both Barcelona and London, she was able to perform her other music, and she sung that nearly flawlessly. And so I think that this song just is, I don't know, it's maybe sometimes there's just songs that this one is kind of out of her normal style too. So like I don't know. I just wish that she was able to, not able. I mean, this was, I'm sure, what she submitted or whatever. It's not like she was made to send this, but I wish she sent something along the lines of her other stuff that she clearly can pull off. Um,
Yeah, the song Blind that she sang at Barcelona and
yeah.
London is really good and suits her a lot better. And I think that might too just come down to the fact that Tower is a great recording, but maybe it's just not a really good live song. And I feel like there are plenty of songs that are like that, where maybe they're just not the best
Yeah.
for live, which is too bad.
So then another negative that I just have, and I know it's so hard because it's a fan favorite, and I will say the fans of this one get mad every time I talk about it. France. It's
Oh,
just every time he performs it, it grows off me more and more. It's not a good sign. Once we got to London Girl, now he's singing like the whole back away from the microphone thing. Stop. When will he learn? When will he learn? Nobody. I ain't seen nobody other than that first time he did that. And everybody's like, okay, that's pretty cool. Girl, we're getting sick and tired of this. And his vocal is starting to sound really strained every time he performs. It's starting to sound
because he's
more and more and
screaming
more.
it. He needs to
Yeah.
save his voice. Every time he does it, I just think to myself, like, you can just stand closer to the mic and sing probably half as loud and just like, and it would be a fine song if he did do like a more maybe subdued or like moody
Mhm.
vocal. Like I feel like because of the type of song that it is, like he could give us more variation, but instead he just keeps giving us this step away
Yell.
from the mic yelling trick. And it's, yes,
Yeah.
I agree. It every time I hear it, it's like, oh, this one again. I'll just sit through this one.
Yeah. And then he switched to English in London. And
I
I was
think he
just
did
like,
it in Spanish a little bit too, I saw.
yeah. I mean, I
Because
guess
people
that's
were
cute.
saying, will he do it in Dutch at EIC?
Yeah, I'm not seeing that in the cards, but maybe he
No.
will. Um, it's really grown off me. I don't know. I think that this really is one that y'all are overhyping. The way people are convinced this could win Eurovision, this is not Marco Mengoni. This isn't. I'm gonna need y'all to really, really get with that. Um, so yeah. Mm, oh, another flawless vocal. Gate. Oh my God. I'll say it
Oh,
flawlessly
yeah.
until I need to say it, but amazing. Every time, amazing. To me, they give uh, the same energy in a sense that Armenia gives, where it's like the yelling, the screaming, this fire that comes out of her when she's performing, the main singer is performing. It's just really like amazing. This is a song that like live comes alive.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's magnificent. The energy, it just I have no idea what she's singing about. I mean, I actually saw a video of them talking about it that they put out. Where it's like this witch and drinking blood and all this
Oh,
stuff coming
okay.
back alive. It's pretty cool. But you don't have to know what they're singing about to like feel that. And it's amazing. And sometimes you just need that song where you're just screaming. And what I loved was at the end of their performance in London, where she was just like, I want, you know how everybody else is like, sing with me, we rumby dum dum, and you're like, oh my goodness. What I loved about her is she said, I want to hear everybody let out the biggest blood curdling scream. And just everybody screamed. I was like, you know, that's the
That's the
energy
way to
though
do
that
it.
that song brings,
Hmm.
So I love that. Um,
Yeah,
mm,
this one is totally growing on me actually, and you know that I
yeah.
was never really into it, and it's not like, oh, I'm adding it to my playlist or anything. But every time I do see it live, I think like, okay, like I see what everyone was excited about. Like sometimes you don't
Hmm.
always, you don't always see what's in front of you the first few times, maybe because you're distracted by other things that you like more.
Hmm.
But then when you get to see it, more or less like outside of specifically the competition atmosphere, um like feeling a little bit more connected to it or more
Yeah.
interested in it, and also seeing that they are definitely a band that does perform live for people,
Hmm.
and the NRK studio setup is kind of like weird.
Yeah, yeah. It's really, you know, those artists that are clearly like professional artists, singers, this is what you do for a living. Like they're another one that falls into that category. Like them and um uh because like here's the thing, I always want to call her Veronica.
I know, me too.
Like I actually have to think like it's not Veronica, it's Raven. But like, they give that energy. the witches. They just have something with them. Um, who else performed in Barcelona? Then there's some people for London.
Well, we had the two Spanish bands as well
Oh
playing.
yeah.
So we had Megara and Nebulosa. So they got to play to their Spanish crowds. And uh, they did both songs. Actually, both of them performed multiple songs.
Mhm.
But Megara did do 1111 and Arcadia, and putting the two right next to each other really like highlighted to me what a better song Arcadia is. And
I
it's actually like
know.
such a pity that that's not the song in Eurovision because I do like it a lot more. Um, and then Nebulosa as well. There, that was when you actually saw the crowd like getting into it when
Mhm.
Nebulosa was performing. And obviously, I love that song, so I'm happy to see it again. And there was a few people though who uh, had come back to perform who were not participating
Mhm.
this year. Some very old ones. There was the some Spanish singer who neither of us knew. Um, and then there was some Swedish guy group who had the what song? What was that song?
Digaloo Digalay, the Harrys.
Yes, they had come back. We also had Cornelia Jacobs was there, and she sounded great. And we had Albina, which
Yeah.
shocked me to see Albina from Croatia sing TikTok, which I loved that song, should have
Yeah.
qualified.
And that's like the fun of the Eurovision world and the fandom, especially like that's why artists should embrace Eurovision and embrace the fandom because you can come super duper low NQ in a semi and be, doing gigs in Spain and being brought back for these types of things for the rest of your career, especially if you're a fan favorite. So, it's really cool to see her perform there.
Yes, and then we had the queen of Eurovision, the freaky queen of Eurovision,
Yes.
𝗫𝗏𝘅, who sang four songs. She turned this thing into the 𝗫𝗏𝘅 show. And we love her
Hmm.
for it. But
Yeah.
it because she is one of these people that just like you like literally have to use one of those hooks like in the cartoons to like
Oh my
drag
God.
her off of the stage because she's just gonna keep going. She just loves to perform so much.
Yeah, I love her. She is one of those people. I mean, it's the San Marino. You know who I need to see more of is where's Valentina Monetta? Because we see Senate everywhere. Where is Miss Valentina Monetta? We need to get her out there too. And where is the Senate Valentina Monetta collab?
It's a good question.
So I'm just saying, super group for Eurovision 2025. Just saying. Throw in what's his name? The bald guy.
Dawns?
Say na na na.
𝗫𝗏𝘅𝘅.
Serhat. Throw in Serhat. That can be the Sam Marinese super group right there. Super trio.
Yes.
Uh, and then we went over to London, which was the next day. It was on a Sunday, which is it's just weird. It's a little weird. I think even a Friday and then Saturday would make more sense than a Sunday, but
Or Friday, Saturday, you have all day to get to your destination, and then the Sunday is the concert, the other concert.
yes. Yes, very true. Because that's the one thing is so both of these pre-parties, because they were back to back, there was a lot less people in both ones, which I think is good in some sense because I did really like that in both of them. Some people who had like multiple songs or multiple songs that the crowd would know were able to perform multiple songs, whereas in Madrid we didn't get that because there were so many of the actual artists of this year. And then I like that they sprinkled in a decent bit of previous Eurovision contestants as well to fill it in even more. So I do like that aspect, but it is just it's a lot on the artists, and it is a shame for the people who are going to both of these that they don't get to see as many artists that like we get to see in Amsterdam and in Madrid. Um, there was a lot. Okay, there were some good ones from this though. I gotta say, some growers for me, people who like their songs are starting to really come alive for me. Big one. We just talked about him last week. Georgia. She uh she killed that performance. Vocals on 10, flawless. Vocals flawless. Not that we ever doubted it, But and I was honestly the dancing, come on. She was doing the arm spins and then she put out the fire. Hey, and then she was getting on the floor. Like I was like, hey, she is singing flawlessly, doing the choreo, getting on the ground, getting up. Like she killed that. We got to she did perform in Madrid last week, but she didn't perform her Eurovision song. So it was nice to finally see this song come alive and see that hey, she can pull it off.
Yeah, that one, I'm sorry to the Georgians, Georgia stands. It's not clicking for me just yet. So I wasn't as blown away by the performance, but I was blown away by Raven's performance. And like she's
Yeah.
someone who competently performs every time, but I for some reason I locked in on this one, and it may have been
Mm,
that actually I felt like the sound quality was a little bit better here.
mm,
So like
mhm,
she sounded 10 out of 10
mhm.
amazing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe she was also maybe like in a better mood. Also, I don't know if she had the dancer in
She
London.
didn't know, yeah.
I don't think I liked the dancer. I think it was too much. I would have
Oh,
preferred I just focus on her because she's already so
really?
ethereal on her own. You don't need a dancer. She
Mm.
sings just fine.
I like the dancer. I miss the lesbian moment.
Well, fair enough.
Also, Marcus and Martinez from Sweden were really good. They're another one that I just feel like every time I see them perform, they're doing they do it, they do the dances. It's not really for me, but
Mhm.
they do it well every single time. Like I have no concerns about how they'll perform it at Eurovision.
Yeah, this song it just like, and I know I've said it before, like the song is so forgettable. Like it's so ironic how forgettable the
Yeah.
song is. And I don't know, I didn't like Air either. I think that whatever their kids bop style is, I'm not really feeling. I don't like the
Yeah.
child star thing. Um, and one of my friends in Finland, I guess maybe I could call her a friend or like my 𝗬𝗆, you know, she really loves Marcus and Martina, so I don't think she listens to the podcast, but I'm sorry to my little
I
friendie.
like them, and I'm sorry, Eurovision crush of the season.
Really, the twins?
Adding them to the list. Adding
Oh
them to the
my.
list.
They are
But
cute. They're really
I,
cute.
I have to combine them though in my mind because just in general, like the idea of having crushes on two twins is weird for me.
Especially because you are a twin.
Yes, as a twin, it's weird, but they're one person in my mind. So
Right, right. They just separate when they're on stage performing. It's the hologram. They're
yes,
flawlessly doing one of those mirror tricks
you
like they
know,
try to pull off
I
in so
wouldn't put
many
it
performances.
past. Yeah. Also, shout out to Dons. Shout out to my man, my twin, because despite everything, his live vocal is amazing every single time. He's a great
Yeah, he's
singer,
good.
and I do really like the song. I do. It's one of the better male ballads that we in general, in Eurovision in general for me. I think it's catchy. I think he's charismatic. I think that like it's starting to sell on me. Like, I don't know, maybe it's like a Theodore Andre effect. Maybe he'll be by Theodore Andre of the year. Like, I'm really liking him now, you know?
I do think that he's like pretty much a sure qualifier at this point.
A qualifier.
I think Laffy is finally going to qualify with this
Really?
one. Yeah, because there's just something about this song where like it is kind of like a moody ballad, but it's not it's not like very pretentious sounding.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like maybe Moosty's song does feel a little bit more put on, less
Yes.
less
With Musti
natural.
and Slimane. Like both of them just feel really contrived. And this one, and maybe it's also for me, like this one, I don't know. I do always kind of love the songs where they're singing about like the idea of feeling hollow, like depression, feeling like that certain kind of feeling, like love is one thing, but it's just like that's something that maybe it's just an emotion I often am feeling, and so I really respond to people who sing about that kind of stuff. So this one more so feels like a personal story. It feels like a personal thing. The video is hilarious to me. I'm sorry. Have you watched the official video?
It's like, there's like multiples of him, right?
There's like just literally dozens of bald people. It's like so funny watching it. I know it's not meant to be funny, but it's really funny.
So I was confused for a while because Latvia last year, Sudden Lights, they had like this really artistic music video, and there was a scene in the video where there was a bunch of people wearing blue. And when I
Yeah.
saw a clip of the Dawn's video, I legit thought somebody did some kind of like crazy AI edit where it was
Hmm.
like they had it be like they superimposed Dawn's over all of the people in last year's Latvian music video. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a crazy mashup. Like
That's
that's funny
funny.
and weird. And then later on, I realized like, oh no, wait, actually, that is like the it is just like the real video and it's just a coincidence and I'm a dumbass.
They look like they could be have been done by the same person, to be fair.
Maybe they
Um,
were.
yeah. Another standout for me, Bambi Thug. This song has dropped in my rankings, not because it's, dropped, but because there were so many other good ones that like came up. But like for a long time, this was my winner. And this just like solidified and reminded me why I felt like that because live, this song comes alive. It is not one that I'm always listening to in the studio track, but they are such a good performer. And the way this is a difficult song to perform, I like that they're switching it up. They're trying different like levels to the song and seeing what works. And it really worked for me in London.
Yeah, I never liked the song and I still don't really like it, honestly. But this was a situation like with Luna, where although I do love Luna's song, but played this other song called Tsunami. And I was like, holy
Oh,
shit,
it
like
was amazing.
this would easily be in my top 10, easily, if this was the song that they went with.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so
And
for
I
me,
love
it's
the way
kind of
they
like,
can
oh, bummer.
perform and like the way they perform that one where they were like, I don't know, like that their EP or album or whatever is so good. I highly recommend everybody go and listen to that because definitely Doomsday Blue is very different to a lot of the stuff that they do. It's maybe more on the like screamy kind of sound that they do that in some songs, but they have like a nice range of music. So if even if you don't like if you find yourself as a person who's like, I like Bambi Thug, I like Bambi Thug's aesthetic, but maybe the song's not for you, go listen to their other music because you probably will be able to find something that really clicks for you.
I do have to say though, their styling has definitely been, if not the best, some of the best.
Yes. Yeah.
Incredible looks.
Every single time it's something different. It's high fashion. It's never been seen before. It's insane. Like the look they wore, I don't know what they're gonna wear for the Eurovision stage because like every look is amazing. Every look I'm like could be on the stage. I'm like literally every single time anticipating to see what they will wear. Another person just of note, I feel like we must talk about Kayleen and her wardrobe malfunction that occurred. But
Yes.
shout out to her because she really still did the thing and she's just charismatic and cute and sweet and fun. And she still managed to do her dances as she held it. Um, you know, she just had fun. Again, that's a person who's just on the stage having fun. Everybody's having fun with her. And she had a wardrobe malfunction. Things happen. Things happen. Um,
Yeah, I mean, no surprise there with the type of costume that it was. Like when all you're being held together by is one string, like everything was riding on that one string not breaking. So like she's a good performer. She's done whatever the stand-in performances in the past for people. So this song has completely fallen off for me. I really liked it the first time I heard it, but the more that I've heard it in general and stacked up against the other songs, it's just not doing it for me. So like with um so it's a nostalgic kind of electronic music inspired song. And we've got some other songs like that this year. So we've got like No Rules, which is a really tongue-in-cheek Eurodance song, which
Mm-hmm.
is very obviously saying I am a Eurodance song and this is a Eurodance song, and also we're dancing because we're Euro. Same with 𝗃𝗀𝘆𝘆 as well, being more of a hard
Mm-hmm.
style song. Like it is very much like I am a callback to an older time, but I am today. Like there's anachronistic
Yeah.
elements to it that bring it into this moment with awareness of the past. Whereas I feel like with We Will Rave doesn't feel like a nostalgic song. It doesn't feel like it's self-referential enough.
Mm.
It just feels dated basically to me as the more that I hear it. Like it doesn't feel
Okay.
like a creative nod to the past or like older genres. It just feels like I'm just doing this song because I think people, because I'm basically trying to get the middle-aged vote.
Okay. I haven't gotten that. I still love the song.
Mm.
It's still hitting as hard as it was for me. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Also, rave is never a term that I really used. So there's something actually about the term rave that I don't like
Oh, okay.
as well. So I think it all just, I don't know.
Do you feel as a as a person who as a raver, do you feel, that knowing that Kayleen is not a raver and that she kind of just stole your culture with that, is there some animosity?
Well, maybe that's what it is because it's, well, I mean, well, but like with uh Joost Klein in particular, like he's Dutch. Like his life
Hmm.
has been hard style. Like that is where hardstyle music really grew. So it feels like very like natural. Like I know that he is definitely part of like the real rave scene because it's one of those things where it's like, it's just when you're in that scene, you just call it a party.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
say it's a rave normally, even if that's what most other people would call it. Like I've never like asked my friends who I would go to like free tech events with, like, oh, are you gonna let's go to a rave this weekend? Like
Oh my
we
God.
would never
Yeah.
say that. Like I would
Yeah.
never say the words like, oh, we're going to rave this weekend. Like, no, we're going to party this weekend. Like
Mhm.
it's like a type of, I don't know. It feels like very, I don't know, like out group.
Yes. Yeah, I get that. As a non-raver, I love it. It
Yeah.
brings me my energy that I need, but I'm not really into raving. So feels
Yeah,
like
it's
a
almost like you're like a poser. Like I feel like it's like a poser song. I don't know. That sounds like so
okay.
corny.
No, I get you. I get you with that. Yeah, I get you. Another one though that I really like is that's growing on me the more I see it is Sarah Bonici Loop from Malta. She's performing
Yes.
the fuck out of this. She's doing her flip. She's getting lifted. She is going crazy. The day before she wasn't in Barcelona because she was at a gay nightclub, not a gay, it's like the nightclub called Gay Nightclub in the UK, performing with Morphine Love Dion from RuPaul's Drag Race this season. It performed with all the drag queens. She was out there doing her little loop-de-loops. Um, Obsessed. I'm loving her.
Smart.
Yeah, she knows her audience. She knows what she's doing, and she's she's killing it. I'm worried about this one qualifying simply for Malta's, like, but I think she is really like starting to show that she deserves to qualify through her performances. And she's like really setting herself apart from the other dance breaky girls, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I'm not liking the song anymore, but I do
mm,
like her a lot. Um, like I she just seems like she's a sweetheart, really,
mhm.
and she does perform really well. I will say though, I was so happy that she sang It's Raining Med. That
Oh
was,
yeah.
oh my God, such a slay, because I love that song. So I
Hmm.
thought it was really cool to see her singing a song that I really like, because even though I don't really like Loop that much, I got to like enjoy her perform something.
Yes.
as
Yeah.
opposed to just like appreciating her talent as a performer, but not vibing with it. Like I was able to do both when she sang It's Raining Men.
So it's some okay, so this one's not like a negative necessarily, but with Denmark,
Mm.
particularly in London, something about her there in plain clothes, like truly a leather jacket and jeans, and just like it was missing anything for me. Like I never really felt like this one has the chance to qualify. Um, but even the vocals weren't that perfect. Like, you know, it's not an interesting enough song for the vocals to be off. Not that they were really off, but maybe it was just like it was missing everything. You know what I mean? Like we didn't have a look, we didn't have flawless vocals, the song's not special. Um, she doesn't have as much charisma on the stage or like personality, but I don't know. I'm not saying she doesn't, but I don't think the song really does. So it doesn't
Yeah.
allow her to really show off the personality that she has. Because I've seen her in interviews and she's cool, but Denmark is kind of falling off for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. The song just it sounds like a million other things that I've heard, but
Hmm.
also like it's not like I can like recall the melody of it. It just like sort of is there. Like it's not terrible, but it's not memorable or
Yeah. And then another one that I'm not gonna lie, my opinions changed drastically based on this live performance to the point where I literally said last week, was it last week? It might have been last. Yeah, it was last week. I literally said last week, I think they are for sure qualifying. I think all my hopes are gone.
oh,
Luxembourg,
oh,
because that was okay. Last week we were praising, we were like, oh shoot, we know she could perform, we know she's gonna do well. What happened with that? Because she had no charisma. She had nothing. She looked like a random girl you plucked off the street to do some karaoke in the middle of a bar. She was dressed like it. She was just bopping back and forth like this is our first time ever performing this song. Like not like we've seen you do full choreo to this song. So like I won't say, I mean, I'm sure I mean she'll be doing that at the Eurovision stage, but I was really like, girl, what happened? Where did any of that go? Because this was not, this was, and the vocals weren't there. I don't know what was happening with this.
I don't remember her like performance background, but is she someone who maybe is used to singing in more controlled environments? Like, is she not much of a like live concert singer, or is she more like a studio TV type performer? Because I feel like that does make a difference.
I don't know. I don't really remember her having anything of note that she did before.
Well, but she's young too, isn't she?
Yeah, like I know she had recorded songs a little bit, but I don't know if she never did like a voice TV show, I don't think.
Okay.
So like I don't think she really has experience performing much to an audience unless she's performed in clubs or something that I don't know of. But like
Yeah.
in terms of like TV, like she's not one of those people that I know has all these performances out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it did nothing for me. I'm not really a fan of the song. The crowd was definitely not feeling it. And
Yeah.
then she went and sang Hold Me Closer, which I just didn't understand at all. Like, why of the songs to choose, she would sing that one.
Yeah. I think what it made me realize most was that maybe it wasn't that she's a good performer, and maybe it was that they did a really good job of surrounding her by dancers that were good performers. So she kind of did just probably stand there and then
Mm,
they danced around her. And it made it look like,
mm,
oh, she's a great performer, but actually she didn't really do anything. Because seeing her on her own, she could not hold her own.
right. Well, and that that is something to be said for the environment of Eurovision. Like if you have people who can't really do much on their own, you can make some tricks to make it a lot more exciting to convince people that they're a little bit better maybe than they are.
Yeah, that was everybody for me. Do you have anybody else you'd like to comment on?
Well, we had some again return artists because there always has to be like the mix of old and new.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was in England, and so we
Mm-hmm.
actually had um Lucy Jones, who I was really happy to see because I actually liked her song "Never Give Up on You" a lot, and she did
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a club remix version, which was interesting because I like that song. Like it was cool to see a different version of it, and she's a really great performer. 𝗤𝗏𝘅 was there, or well, 𝗤𝗏𝘅's not English. Who was
Yes.
there? Michael Rice was there though. That sweet
Mm-hmm.
man. And he performed, I think we saw him together at the Euro Club last year.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And he actually is a good singer. And
Mm-hmm.
Kano was there, who we also saw at Euro Club. And as I said, 𝗤𝗏𝘅 was there, who just never ever misses. He's always perfect. So there was like a nice little mix, I thought, of old and new here. Definitely like very, I mean, like I realized that maybe like Lost Ketchup or it was a big deal in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt like these were a little bit more like, I don't know, exciting uh returnees.
Yeah, yeah.
And a
I
little
think
bit more
they're
recent at
more
least.
recent. Yeah, yeah. So lastly, okay, I will say I don't know if I said that Tally was the worst, but guys, we have to address the elephant in the room here, and I feel like I feel bad for really saying anything negative about it, but I'm going to speak on what I saw, and then we could talk about maybe the reasoning behind why it was what it was Olly
Yeah.
Alexander and his performance. Because that performance made me uncomfortable watching it because you can tell that something was really wrong because I mean, he literally stood there for the entire performance, like almost still, not moving at all, not a little shimmy, not moving around the stage. He just stood there, sung his song completely out of tune and it sounded really bad. And then at the end of his performance, he basically gave this like face of like a stink face and then like it was done. And like so that's what I saw, right? And
Mhm.
so I was like watching that and I was like, what happened here? Like, what resulted in this performance? Because this was the first time we've seen him actually really sing it live. Um, like live in a live like venue setting. And I was like shocked because Olly Alexander is the most seasoned performer on this in this competition pretty much. I mean, he like in terms of touring, in terms of playing in live venues, he's like the most seasoned. He's the most like the biggest artist like going into this. And so I was shocked. I did not expect to see this kind of performance from him, but there are multiple, of course, we don't know. There's no statement that's come out about this, so we don't know what the actual reasoning is behind this. But like a lot of what it is there was huge, okay, I don't want to say huge, but there were protests outside that was like handing out flyers and it was, again calling for Ollie to withdraw out. This was outside of the venue calling for Ollie to withdraw, calling for all of the artists to withdraw. But there was this pamphlet that was specifically targeting Ollie. And, a lot of people are wondering if maybe it just had to do with that, if it had to do with like this, just his general spirit being diminished by all of this weighing on him with all of this pressure from all of these groups, all of these expectations onto him. Why does it feel like it's all falling onto him of all people? Of course, they're in his country, so that's likely why they're specifically targeting him for this. But like, it hasn't been like that in all of the countries for their representatives, whatever. It's all falling onto him. Another thing was apparently it was running like 2 hours behind. Um, but
Yeah.
I I don't know if that's I being a cynical person, I feel like, well, everybody was late. Everybody was behind. So,
I think the difference was between going on at 11 and going on at 1. And yeah, 1 is pretty late, but also his job is nightlife oriented, so it's
mm,
probably very typical to like be up past 1. So, I mean, like you
yeah.
said, we don't know, but it could be like also a combination of those things. Like maybe he was already kind of pissed off, but he would have been able to bring himself together a little bit better at 11. Whereas by the time 1 came around, he had 2 extra hours of being pissed off backstage.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because my thought process is, well, a lot of these people are not used to performing. A lot of these people are not used to like touring, where, I mean, things do happen where you're performing late or things, whatever, or maybe like doing festivals and stuff, things happen. Like those settings where there's like a lot of performers, like he's done that before in
Mhm.
festival settings and stuff. So, like, I just feel like if the people who aren't used to performing like this were able to do it, then I don't see why he wouldn't be able to. He, of all people, I feel like, I mean, running late happens. It is,
Yeah.
it's how it goes. And um, so that I just so then also William did an interview with the Dutch news thing where he basically, and this was clearly edited in a certain way. I will say you can tell that this was a clipped in, like it wasn't like this was actually his response, but the way they made it look was that, he was just very he just said, "Oh, because they, I guess, told Weebly not to post the footage from the performance." And so he was like, of course we didn't do it, but what we will say is when these people say that, when these delegations or whatever say, "Oh, don't post this because we don't want this out here," you could just, you know, do better. How did he word it? Basically, you could just do better and not
I,
not have those problems and then not have to be worried.
yeah, it was something along those lines of it, if you don't do a bad performance, then you don't need to worry about us not posting a bad performance.
Yeah. Which
It sounded insensitive, but it also because of the way that William is, it sounded like it wasn't necessarily something that he thought he was saying on the record. Like, because
mm,
I thought there was something in his tone of voice when I saw the clip where it didn't sound
it
like
changed
it
completely.
changed it, because and that's something that I don't particularly like about William, is that I feel like he puts on an act when there's the camera in front of him, and everything becomes, dialed up to 11. And it seemed like he was acting like a normal person when he said that, and it did come across to me as that being like he was saying like a personal like catty shit. It wasn't a he was making a sound. It did not feel like a sound bite that he was trying to create, which is also very ironic because the whole thing was about him not releasing something that makes somebody look bad. And then they released a clip that made him in return look really bad.
Yeah. I just have the perspective of this kind of thing where I'm like, okay, you could say it sounds harsh, but honestly, he's right. I mean, I'm like, yeah, like I really find it hard to believe that all those circumstances, were you really that affected by the protesters and the 2 hour late thing that you couldn't just fake it for 3 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
And now we all have to pretend like that didn't happen.
Right.
Like,
Although, there is a secret third option here. And I'm just speaking as a Pittsburgh Penguins fan because there
Mm.
was recently some like stomach bug going around the Penguins, and these hockey players were shitting their brains out during games. So, like, it's possible, like, maybe he was actually sick. Like, maybe he's standing there, like, all tight because actually he was like on the verge of vomiting. Like there actually are like there are like biological reasons that someone could maybe feel really uncomfortable if maybe they don't feel well.
Yeah. I also think he could have not performed because realistically, unless the like contracts are different in London or whatever, or maybe they were more tight with them this year. I mean, last year there were multiple artists that ended up not performing at their respective pre-parties. Lazada was one of them.
Mhm.
Lazada, and she came out and said, girl, that had nothing to do with her, that she was fine. She was able and capable of performing, that it was the delegation that pulled her.
There was a pre-party in France? Or
No,
just
no,
in
no.
general, it was somewhere. Okay, right.
It
Oh,
was in
right.
Amsterdam because she was at the interviews. And then all of a sudden they were like, Lazada will not be performing. We were like, she's here. Like we just
That's
saw
so
her an
weird.
hour ago at the interviews. And she came out recently when she was doing her whole little expose thing. And she was like, yeah, they pulled her because they weren't happy with her for, some things. So they pulled her performance. And they basically made her like take the fall for it. And everybody went with this whole like, oh, she's a diva and she didn't want to perform because of this,
Wow.
and that wasn't the case at all. And that she didn't even like that she was wanted to perform and that they didn't let her. So my thing is though, like if there were these extenuating circumstances, like number one, 2 hours late is not his fault. I'm sure that they would be able to be like, hey, he's fucking falling asleep, or if he's sick and he's shitting his brains out or whatever, that or he feeling unsafe and uncomfortable with the protests, oh, you guys didn't like allow there to be a safe environment, whatever the reasoning is. I'm sure there were enough reasons to where he could have gotten out of performing, but that's all this is speculative, right?
Right.
But so I'm like very much on the side of maybe this is like, I feel bad for Ollie that this is what's out, but like with Musti or whatever, it's like, well, we haven't gotten to see you perform the song live. This is like the only time we've gotten to see you now. And like this is what we have. And you are in a competition. Like I come from like as a drag race fan, like competition sort of thing where it's like, well, you're in a competition. You're this is part of the competition nowadays. Like like when you enter a competition, you are entering to be judged.
Yeah.
Like it or not, that's how it goes. And the other element of this is, of course, the reason why the protesters were protesting and whatnot. And it's just the fact that this isn't going to stop. And
No,
so
it's gonna
this is
ramp up
only,
actually.
yeah, it's only going to get worse. And so, you know, if this is how Ollie feels right now, I'm scared to see how he's going to be at Eurovision because it's really truly only going to get worse, not only for him, but for all of the artists. All right, so then that leads us into the statement that Eurovision and the EBU put out. So I literally opened up my phone and I saw this and I literally was like, I was like, is this real? Because I just, I think we've all been like waiting for a statement from Eurovision for so long. And so I saw a statement, I didn't read it. I hadn't read it yet. I was just like seeing that there was something and I was thinking like, oh my God, already a statement, like shocked that like something is coming out. And then I read this and it's just it's starting to become like a joke at this point. So, I'm gonna read the statement for you guys, but this was posted on all of the Eurovision official uh channels. It was not posted on the EBU's official channels. At least official Instagram. I didn't check Twitter because I'm not on Twitter anymore, but it was not posted on the EBU's Instagram. So I don't know if that's
So it's a
important to note.
Eurovision statement, not necessarily an
Yes.
EBU
Yes.
statement.
It's from the EBU because the EBU is, but it's for Eurovision specifically. So it says the EBU recognizes the strong emotions stirred by this year's Eurovision Song Contest and the intense debate sparked by the inclusion of an Israeli entry. We would like to stress that any decisions regarding participation are the responsibility of the EBU's governing bodies, not the individual artists. We are firmly against any form of abuse or harassment directed at participants online or offline and are committed to fostering a safe, respectable, and inclusive environment. We advocate for constructive dialogue and support for the artists, underlining the contract. Oh my God, I don't have my glasses on. I'm sorry. Underlining the contest's mission to be united by music. Um, So basically, this was a statement of them condemning the negativity and the hate towards the artists. And like in a way, them being like, oh, this is all our choice. Just so you guys know, we condemn all the stuff going towards the artists. This is the responsibility of the EBU. We're against all of the, abuse and harassment that the participants are, experiencing. Um, but also we're not going to do anything about it. And what I thought was like crazy, what this was why I initially like didn't like believe that it was real was because I was kind of surprised by the opening statement, which was them saying like, "Oh, we recognize the strong emotions stirred by this year's Eurovision Song Contest, and the intense debate sparked by the inclusion of an Israeli entry." I was kind of shocked that they like said
Admitted
that,
it?
like that they fully admitted, like, yes, this is all because of Israel's participation. This is all because we are allowing Israel to participate. So we're aware, we know, we know this is what it's all about. We're also admitting that we know exactly what we can, or exactly the cause, and really what we could do to stop all of this. However, we're not going to do anything about it.
You know what it feels like to me is when somebody does something and you tell them that you're mad or you get mad after
Mm,
somebody does something and they apologize to you by saying, instead of I'm sorry for what I did, it's I'm sorry you're mad about what I
yeah.
did.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's
Mm-hmm.
like, yes, I did a thing, but I don't regret it. And I realize that the reason you're mad is what I did, but I'm just sorry that you're having the reaction to my choices.
Yeah. Yeah, that's literally what it is because it's like I cannot believe that they would put something out there like this that is so like we are condemning you guys condemning us allowing Israel in the contest. Like because really, to be honest, I haven't I mean, listen, I see hate towards, all artists every single year. Everybody gets hate. But really, I mean, how do we define hate? Like, I wouldn't say that people telling artists that they need to withdraw or that they need to say something about Palestine, that's not hate. I mean,
Well, there
that's
may
not,
be some things that we're not seeing. Like, I
yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if people have maybe like put in specifically like death threats or saying stuff like
Hmm.
I wish you would die, things like that. And we
Hmm.
just don't know. So it might be that they're seeing comments or getting messages that they're flagging because you're right.
Yeah.
Like saying that people should withdraw from the contest, that does not constitute bullying.
Yeah.
Calling somebody a horse face repeatedly actually does,
Hmm.
even
I
though
was gonna
like it's
say,
mild in comparison to maybe like a death threat or like actual human like bodily suffering and harm that is occurring. But it is just like I mean, like
Yeah.
people do get out of hand, and we have had these statements in the past, but it's only about like bullying, whereas this is
Mhm.
this they and like you said, they say that it's about the inclusion of an Israeli entry.
Exactly. Exactly. And in the other gross thing is they updated their frequently asked questions, their FAQ section on their website to have a whole section explaining why Israel is in Eurovision, why we are allowing them to continue to compete. So the big question is that they have an answer for. I think that they have an answer for on their website is why is Israel still a member of the EBU when Russia was suspended? This one is honestly laughable. So this is what they say in response to this. This is from their website. As a non-political organization, the EBU's role is to support public service broadcasters throughout Europe and the Middle East. The Israel Public Service Broadcaster has been a member of the EBU for over 60 years. The Russian public service broadcasters had their EBU membership suspended in 2022 due to consistent breaches of membership obligations and the violation of public service media values. That's it. That's their answer. So, what in that was an answer? Because none of that. So, they say the Israeli public broadcaster has been a member of the EBU for over 60 years. What's your point in saying that? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. That's great. Um, and then they go on to say the reason why the Russian public broadcaster was suspended, which was for things that Khan has done time and time and time and time and time again. Like you're literally just proving why they need to be suspended. Why it's not even just a they need to be withdrawn or suspended from Eurovision, but like yeah, they've literally done that same exact thing over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. Defying the
Like
values of the contest, bringing the contest into disrepute, like that
yeah.
was and it's honestly it's really shocking. Also the fact that you need a whole web page to defend the inclusion of a controversial country, like that's pretty wild. Like that you should not need like if they were going to put out a statement to say why they're going to exclude them, it would literally be less words needed.
Yeah, because I mean, so here are some of the like questions that are on the site that they have answers to if you'd like to go and like read everything, whatever. They have the statement from the EBU Director General 𝗫𝗏𝘃𝗀 on Israel's participation, which was issued January 31st. That question that we just talked about. Why is Israel in the Eurovision Song Contest? Why is the Israeli entry eligible to compete? Will there be more security than usual this year because of the fact that Israel's competing? How will the EBU react if there are protests in Malmö? What does the EBU think about the fact that many people have said that they will boycott Eurovision this year? My thing is them recognizing all the concerns of security and safety and yeah, okay, we take the security very seriously. We will be working hard to ensure that that there's more security, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, there's literally a solution to this. Like, there is literally a solution to this that nobody has to worry. We gonna chill. Everything will be fine, girl. If you just get that one country out, girl, none of this. This will literally all, and like, you have the solution. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. And so very quickly, actually, BDS or the Palestinian Campaign for the Academic and Cultural Boycott of Israel, which is part of BDS, they put out a statement in response. They said, once again, the EBU flaunts its colonial hypocrisy and shameless complicity in Israel's genocide against 2.3 million Palestinians in Gaza, with its latest justifications for allowing apartheid Israel to participate in the Eurovision Song Contest as it carries out its genocide in Gaza, while Russia was swiftly banned for its illegal invasion of Ukraine. The EBU proves its utter disregard for Palestinian life. The EBU has failed to ban genocide Israel, failed to stand up for contestants who disagree with Israel's participation, and failed to listen to millions of fans calling on it to drop Israel. In a desperate attempt to shift the blame, it now points the finger at human rights supporters. The Palestinian Campaign for the Academic and Cultural Boycott of Israel, a founding member of the BDS movement, reiterates our call on all Eurovision contestants to be on the right side of history by immediately withdrawing from this year's tarnished contest. One of the things that I think is really important here is that they do say that it's an attempt to shift the blame from
Mhm.
them onto people who are reacting to their choices. Um, but I thought it was interesting that they used this phrasing that the EBU failed to stand up for contestants who disagree with Israel's participation.
Mm.
Because I think that is important. And I'm happy that they acknowledge that here because and in their previous statement too, they had said, that they appreciated that people were refusing to be silent. Because why is it that, and I know it was like a third of the participants, well, a third is actually quite a bit. It's not like it's one person who had a statement. It was a
Yeah.
third of them
Yeah.
who actually signed on to it. So it's like if you have a bunch of people who are involved in your contest, the performers of your contest who really make it happen, who are the reason why people tune in, and they are uncomfortable with something. If a business had a third of their employees say, to HR, I am really uncomfortable with the behavior of another employee and I don't feel comfortable in this job with this person who is like making things, security threats, who is not a good person, maybe who maybe is abusive. I'm just saying in like, workplace context how it is. If a third of employees came out and said that they don't feel comfortable at work, like any business would do something about the one actor that is causing that much upset.
That's true, unless you are the milk
Oh my
and,
God,
your
don't get
manager.
sued. Don't get us sued.
I'm just saying, I have my emails.
Oh my God, cut that part out.
Just saying, girl. Miss Girl got reported by every single employee in that place, and they'd rather fire them all.
Well, that's the same kind of thing as EBU then, I guess. So there would be, but there would be workplaces that do that, but they're bad ones.
Yes, no, yeah. Exactly. I'm I'm shocked by this statement. I didn't expect them to acknowledge it at all,
Mhm.
to be honest. And this felt even worse
They've
because
definitely made it worse.
they literally acknowledged it and just said, well, bitch, we don't give a fuck. We don't care that everybody's safety is at risk. We don't care that the artists, because yes, you're condemning it, but we know that a statement like this is not going to actually change anything. And I know that they know that. I'm sure there probably were broadcasters or delegations that were calling on the EBU to make a statement to at least condemn, because they obviously, the artists are getting a huge brunt of the hate. Because really, like, okay, yes, the direction should be towards the EBU, but the EBU is not one person. So when you're saying, oh, direct that towards the EBU, but who's that really? How much do you think that's actually going to affect it? Because that's a whole business. It's like saying, bitch, be mad at McDonald's, but it's like, well, but girl, you think the CEO gives a fuck? Because
Yeah.
you're just talking to McDonald's at large. No, like, the reason why people find themselves going directly to the artists is because those are individuals that you can easily communicate with and actually get through to.
Right.
The EBU is such a big organization, you can't actually get through to anybody when you're talking to them, talking to the EBU.
Yeah.
Who are you really talking to? Um, so it's like them making this statement's not actually going to change anything for the artists, but they do have something that can make it better.
Yeah.
Like, they have the full ability to do so, and they are choosing not to. And it's really gross to see.
Yeah. I know that this is not going to be the end of this conversation. Probably every episode leading up and after potentially, it's going to have to we're going to have to talk about the things that are going on because the contest is like fully in disrepute at the moment and these things are going to continue happening. Protests are going
Yeah.
to continue happening. Statements are going to continue to come out. So It's just, yeah, it's a lot to watch, a lot to follow, a whole extra level of things to follow regarding this year.
Yeah, and oof, 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 oof. But you know what? That's Eurovision, y'all, this
Yeah,
year. And but we are still gonna continue to, you know, try to enjoy the contest as much as we can for what it is. And just keep it pushing day by day. I'm still
yeah,
trying to decide what I'm doing for Eurovision, for the lead up to Eurovision. And I think that everybody's in that situation. I think everybody's kind of in that
yeah.
in that
Wait and
vibe right
see.
now. Yeah. Yeah. But one last thing in regards that I do want to ask you. So because a lot of people have said, so I saw something else that came out and said that the Israeli delegation and their artist specifically is going to have like the most security that has ever been seen at Eurovision for a specific like artist or delegation. And then I saw a lot of people saying that they think that Israel will not actually end up performing live at Eurovision. Do you think that that is a possibility, that you think that would happen? And what would your opinions be on if they ended up doing that?
I highly doubt that they're going to do a live on tape.
Mhm,
If this was a situation like in, I guess it was what, 2021, right?
mhm,
Where they recorded live, where every single person recorded a live on tape, I would say there's a possibility.
mhm.
But when nobody's recording live on tapes anymore, which I think is the case, that's not a thing anymore. That's
Yeah,
not like an option. If you can't make it, if you can't go, you can't go.
yeah,
Uh, if they were to make that kind of an exception, which would not be an exception for anyone else, that would be the absolute uh that would be the end of any ounce of integrity that they had left.
yeah, yeah,
Completely shredded. Yeah. So
yeah.
I don't see that happening at all.
Yeah, I do honestly believe that if I think that's literally the now maybe I'm putting too much faith in the EBU and Eurovision at this point, but that is truly the only way I believe that Israel would end up actually not participating, is that they basically refuse to go to Eurovision because of safety reasons. And I would hope that at that point, that would just be ridiculous to allow them to film in a completely separate, because that was the thing with the live on tapes, is they still had to be filmed in like two locations or three locations, whatever. Like there were multiple people that filmed in the same spaces still, because like
Yeah,
there
it was
needed to be some
equal.
control over like the space, over everything, because it's still a competition and like in the end only one person wasn't able to actually go to the contest. That was because nobody was allowed to leave Australia.
Yeah.
In the whole country, no one was allowed to leave.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. The only way I see Israel leaving the contest now is on their own accord very dramatically by not
yes. Yeah.
performing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that was actually ended up being a lot. We've got a few
Mhm.
more pre-parties coming up, and in these coming episodes, we are going to be giving some things like our top 10, which is very highly anticipated, and maybe even some predictions. So
Mhm.
there's a lot to look forward to. So make sure you guys are subscribing, of course, to my channel at Maxxy Rainbow.
And I am Renata at 𝗍𝗍𝘆.
Yes, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to our Patreon, and also make sure to follow and listen to us over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And we will see you all next week. Goodbye.